Right now, I'm going to look you in the eyes and I'm going to make you a crazy promise. And that promise is that if you watch this entire video until the end, you are going to learn more eye-opening, helpful, and life-changing information about your OCD than you ever have before, and information that you have never learned before. In fact, I am so confident of this that if you watch the entire video and I have not fulfilled on that promise, then I give you my permission to comment below that you hate my guts, and I will literally help you personally with your OCD until you create a breakthrough. That is how confident I am that this information can be everything for you. They can change your life because it changed mine. Like, I hope you can feel the conviction, the passion that I have about this stuff. And it's because I was struggling. For 14 years, I was so trapped. And I gave everything I could to try to somehow escape the fears and the obsessive thoughts and the intrusive thoughts and all that horrible stuff. And nothing worked. And the traditional treatments did not give me the results I wanted. And it was so bad, it got so dark that there were times I wanted to die. I thought I was going crazy. I had panic attacks. I couldn't work. Like, it was horrible. And finally, when I discovered the information I'm about to share with you, that is when everything changed. Faster and more powerfully than I ever imagined, than I ever dreamed of. And the reason I share this with you is because I truly believe that information, the concepts, the strategies in this video is what you need to change your life, to conquer the OCD. But it won't change your life if you don't watch it. So the thing I want you to know is that this hasn't just worked for me. This has also changed other people's lives. In fact, just a fraction of the information in this video has taken people from 3 to 4 panic attacks a day to then 1 panic attack in the next 2 months. I have seen people overcome 90% of their OCD or anxiety from the strategies in this video. I have seen people change everything because in this video, it's not like, here's the thing you gotta understand. I'm not just gonna give you this simple hack that just, oh, then you're perfectly healed. Like, no, of course not. That doesn't exist. But what I am going to teach you in this video is I'm first off going to explain to you exactly why your OCD is happening, what is actually causing it. And I guarantee it's something you've never heard before because I've had so many conversations sharing this with people, and every time I do, they're like, holy cow, that makes so much sense. Like, I've never heard this before. Even people that have been in the OCD community for decades. I'm also going to share with you how you can understand exactly why you are having all the thoughts and feelings of the OCD. And it's not the reasons you think. It's not, oh, I'm thinking this because I'm actually going to do this, or oh, I'm thinking this because that is true. No. I'm going to help you discover with total confidence is that all the thoughts, all the feelings you are experiencing with OCD are lies. It's just your imagination. It is just your brain trying to trick you. And that is what I'm going to break down for you in this video. And most importantly, the biggest goal that I have for you in this video is for you to truly be able to see that you can conquer your OCD. It is absolutely possible. So if you've heard all the people that say, if you have OCD, then oops, you're stuck. It's just a lifelong condition. And yeah, you can learn to manage it and you can learn to handle it better, right? You can do exposures so you're not quite as afraid, but you're just kind of stuck. If you've heard that, if you've bought into that lie, then I need you to take that and just throw it away, because the thing that I need you to know is that is not true. I have achieved a full recovery from 14 years of OCD. You can achieve that too. And if you're listening to me saying this right now and you're going, okay, like, who is this guy? This guy's really trying to tell me that I can beat my OCD? Like, what does he think I've been doing for the last 20 years? Does he think I've just been sitting on the couch just letting this ruin my life? Like, no, I've given everything. I've tried everything and nothing has worked. Like, if you're even somewhat insulted by me saying that you can conquer the OCD because you haven't been able to for so long, I just need you to know, like, that's totally normal. You feel that way. I have felt that way too. But I need you to know that the reason why you have been stuck, why nothing has worked for you, is not because you are broken or because it's impossible. No. It's because the information, the strategies that you have had has been broken. That is why. Because I saw that in my life. For 14 years, I tried everything and it was tough and nothing worked. And then boom, as soon as I discovered the things I'm about to share with you, everything just started clicking. Doors started opening. Everything changed so much better than I ever thought it could. So even if this sounds too good to be true, like, that's fine. But at least give yourself the chance, like, watch the video and go into it with an open mind of, this could change my life, or how could this change my life, or what if? right? Don't go into it trying to disprove everything I say. That's just doing yourself a disservice. But if you go into this with even just the smallest bit of hope, the smallest bit of faith, and believing that just maybe this can do even a fraction of what I have been so blessed for this to be able to do in my life. If you do that, then it truly can change your life. And that is why I made this video. And that's why I made a full hour-long video just pouring into it as much value as I possibly could so that you can actually get results just from the information in this video. Because I want to change the world and I don't want anyone to be stuck like I was stuck because I hated it. So let's do this. Let's dive right in. So the first thing that I discovered that opened the door to the healing, that opened the door to the power that I developed in my life is that all OCD, all of it, all it is patterns that your brain is doing on purpose. It's patterns that you have memorized in your subconscious mind. That is it. That is what's causing it. That is why it's happening. So if you've heard these things of, oh no, it's just I was born with this. Oh no, it's just my genetics. Oh, it's just because I'm just broken. No, it's because you've memorized subconscious patterns that are causing and creating all of this to happen over and over and over again. And that's making you so stuck in this in a way that it feels like you're broken, or in a way that feels or seems like, oh, it's just, there's nothing I can do about it, so it must be genetic. It's like, yes, you can have genetic factors that influence and affect the way your subconscious is programmed, for sure. But ultimately, it is subconscious patterns. And one of the most liberating, freeing, exciting things that I could ever share with you is that your subconscious patterns can be reprogrammed. They can be changed. Just like they were programmed through your life, they came to be through the experiences, through everything that's happened in your past. In the same way, you can actually redesign them deliberately on purpose to create your brain, your mind, to be the way you want it to be. So that's a whole other topic of how to do that. But for now, the first thing to understand is, what is your subconscious? It's absolutely crucial for you to understand what the subconscious is if it's the thing that's causing all of this pain and suffering that you hate so much in your life. So your subconscious, the two most important things, without going too in depth, the two important things for you to understand is that your subconscious is the part of your brain that memorizes information, and that the goal of your subconscious, the single goal of what it's trying to accomplish, is to help you meet your needs, to make sure that your needs are met. To focus on this one at first, and then we'll go to this one. If you had to relearn life every morning when you woke up, that'd be awful, right? If you woke up and you're like, wait, how do I walk? Oh, how do I talk to someone? Oh, what am I supposed to do today? Oh, who's that person? Like, that'd be horrible. So in order for our lives to work, we have to have a brain that can actually memorize and store information for us. That can memorize how to act, right? Physical programs of how to move in a certain way, how to walk. Also memorizing facts and information, memorizing your name, memorizing also other skills of how to speak, like all the different things in our life. Also how we breathe, right? When you breathe, you don't think about it consciously. You're not like, hey, breathe in, breathe out. Like, it's subconscious, it just happens. So your subconscious, the simplest explanation of this is, right now, if I were to tell you to tie your shoes, I'm guessing that you could do that and still pay total attention to me because you've memorized subconsciously how to tie your shoes. So your body, your subconscious mind actually knows how to tie your shoes better than your conscious mind does, right? It's just a program. All you have to do is select that program of, I'm gonna tie my shoes, and boom, right? At one point you had to go, oh, wait, okay, I hold this here and I twist this here and you had to actually consciously think it through. But now you've done that enough times, it's just boom, shoe tied. And so while a lot of people understand, okay, you know, for learning physical skills, like when Steph Curry goes to shoot a three-pointer, okay, he's memorized that in his subconscious, like that makes sense. Movement patterns you can memorize, all right. The thing that most people don't understand is it's the exact same with your thoughts, with your feelings, with the OCD and everything that goes into that. So just like you have memorized how to tie your shoes and your body, your subconscious knows how to do it better than you consciously do, same thing with your thoughts and feelings. With whatever that thing is you memorize, your brain knows how to feel fear subconsciously in your body better than you even consciously do. And it knows when to trigger it. It knows all these things that it just automatically causes. That's why with the OCD, it's the same types of thoughts over and over, the same types of feelings over and over, the same things, fears over and over, the same things it's trying to convince you of over and over. It's because it's just a program. It's just a program. Just like when you walk, you move your legs in the same way over and over. It's a program playing. Same thing with the OCD. So that takes us to the second part of what OCD is that subconscious patterns we memorize. But the thing that just absolutely blew me away, and I was like, what? This is insane. Like, how can that be true? But it actually is, and that changes everything of how people can look at their OCD, is that every thought and feeling that you experience, your subconscious is creating it, is causing that to happen on purpose. Because otherwise it wouldn't have happened. The only thoughts and feelings you experience are ones that your subconscious creates and causes you to experience. And there is a reason behind every thought and feeling. Your subconscious is only causing you to think and feel that way because it wants you to. Because it thinks that it has to. Because the second part to remember is that the entire goal of your subconscious is to help you meet your needs. So the thing that's going to change the way you look at OCD entirely is once you understand that everything that's happening with your OCD is actually an attempt to help you meet your needs. That's it. So that horrifying intrusive thought, that ruminating that's just bombarding your mind, that is actually on purpose. It is strategic. Your subconscious is doing it on purpose to try to help you meet your needs. And before you say, oh, he's lost his mind. Like, my brain would never do that on purpose. Like, that's just crazy. What is he talking about? Let me explain. So, the first thing you've got to understand, to understand why your brain would ever do something that crazy, is that every human has 4 needs. No matter who you are, no matter where you were raised, no matter what's happened to you, everyone has these 4 needs. The first need is safety and survival. Because if you can't even survive or stay alive or avoid this danger, then you can't really have your other needs met. And that's just like the big biologically driven thing inside all of us, right? Is to survive. So that's number 1. Second one is freedom and control. We need to feel like we have a sense of agency, like we can actually cause what's happening in our life instead of just being trapped or controlled by our life. Right? That you can determine how you want to think, how you want to feel, what you want to do, what happens to you in your life. We all have that need for control and freedom. The third one is significance. We all have the need to be good enough, to be valuable, to be special, and to not have something awful be about us, right? To not be an awful person that's worthless or whatever, right? Yeah, we need significance, being good enough. The fourth one, probably the biggest one, is love and connection. We all crave, we all need love and connection. That's why so much in life is motivated towards getting love. Because if we feel like we don't have love, that is going to eat away at the way you experience everything in life. Hopefully this makes sense, right? In your life, you can probably see, okay, yeah, I do need these things, right? If I didn't have one of those, life would be tough, it would not be good. But how does this have anything to do with that intrusive thought? Or how does this have anything to do with all that anxiety I'm feeling or whatever it is? This is it. Like, this is, if you want to understand why you're thinking and feeling everything that you are, if you want to understand your psychology at a way better than getting a degree in psychology, and in the next 20 minutes or however long this takes, this is it. This is it. This hopefully will be one of the most eye-opening, one of the most just changing the way you see everything in your life, things that you've ever discovered. I know for me, personally, it absolutely has been. It's crazy. So, super excited to share this with you. Let's jump into it. This concept I got from Tony Robbins. He calls blueprints. So blueprints are basically the rules that you memorize of what needs to happen in order for your needs to be met. And it's things that your brain has memorized so much through your experiences in your life, through what you've thought and felt and believed for so many times, for so long, that at this point, it's just a fact to you. It's not actually a fact. It can change, it can be sculpted, it can be redesigned. It's actually just beliefs that you've memorized, but your brain's viewing it as fact. That's why the OCD seems so terrifying to you, because it's like, this thing has to happen. It's a fact. No, it's not. It's just a pattern, a program that your brain's memorized as being a fact. So I got the idea from Tony Robbins, and I basically just added to it, sculpted it, changed it to really fit with OCD, with anxiety, with mental illness specifically, and just kind of added some other cool things to help you better understand this. This is it right here. This little house and little pathway to the house, that's what you gotta know. So with this analogy, the house represents having your needs met. So just like the whole goal is to get your needs to be met, the whole goal of this analogy is to get inside the house. That is the goal. If you're inside the house, oh, you are good. That's it. And so really, the big difference between people with mental illness compared to people that don't have mental illness is how much you have memorized that you are not in that house. Basically, how much you have memorized that your needs aren't met and that they might never be met, that you might not have any control over those needs being met. That is what is going to cause your brain to develop the patterns of OCD and anxiety and depression, whatever it is, right? So when you memorize that your need isn't met, the whole goal is to get your need to be met. That is when your brain is going to obsess over, okay, what needs to happen? What do I have to do in order to have my needs met? Right? That creates the OCD obsessing where this has to happen or this can't happen, based on then all of this. So getting to the house, that's your needs met. Then the door, right? If you notice, this house doesn't have windows, it doesn't have a back door, it's just this door. Because this is basically the big picture thing that your brain, your subconscious has memorized as this thing has to happen in order for my needs to be met. So you can take a second and think about, with your OCD specifically, what is the need and what is the door? Right, so a couple questions real quick, just so you can really start to put yourself into this and actually understand it for yourself specifically, is just think about, okay, which one of these, if right now in this moment I could know that I have this, would it make it so all the OCD goes away? So all of it's like, oh, I can actually be okay. Oh, I don't have to worry about that thing anymore. Right? If you knew that you were going to have, that you were so lovable and just so deserving of love, and that you are going to have more love in all the ways that you want to, more than you could ever dream of, if you knew that, would that get rid of the OCD? Would it make it so you're like, oh, well then I wouldn't have to worry about all those flaws, and I wouldn't even have to worry about that mistake I made, and I wouldn't have to worry about, oh yeah, I'd be good. Okay, then that's the need you've memorized not being met. If you're like, oh, if I just knew I would be free, if I just knew I could have control over my mind, if I just knew that, oh, then the OCD would all be gone. And it might be a couple, right? It might be both of these. These two go together a lot. It might be all three, it might be all four, right? But just ask yourself, okay, which of these things is like, if I knew that I had that, oh, that might be good. Then my needs would be met. Then I wouldn't have OCD. Life would be incredible. Like, yes. And then with your door, it's the specific big picture way of how you have that need. So maybe your door is, I need to have this perfect dream relationship in order to have love and connection, right? Your door is that dream relationship. Oh, I need to be super successful. I have to be the most successful ever. That's my door. Or, oh, I need to not have intrusive thoughts, right? I need to know that I'm not going to harm a family member. Oh, if I just knew that, that's the big picture thing that needs to happen. Oh, okay, I'm good. Oh, if I just knew that I wouldn't be trapped in OCD forever. Oh, if I just knew I'd actually conquer OCD for good. Oh, yeah, then my OCD would go away. Then I'd be good. Oh, if I just knew that I'm actually good enough to be loved and that there isn't something wrong with me that makes it so people judge me. Oh, yeah, okay. Right, so for yourself, ask yourself, what's the big thing that if you could just believe or know that one big thing, it would make it so you wouldn't have to worry anymore. You would be free. You'd be like, oh, it's amazing, right? If I just knew that I could touch anything and it wouldn't hurt me. Oh, okay. Right? That's your door. Then your pathway is basically all the specific things your brain has memorized, and these things need to happen in order for me to get to this door, right? That is the way to get to the door. If I'm over here, I'm not getting to the door. I have to follow the pathway, right? So if your door is, I need to have this dream relationship, then your path might be, oh, they need to say this to me. Oh, they need to have not cheated. Oh, I need to feel this love for them in this perfect way. Oh, they need to look exactly like this. Oh, I need to, like, whatever. If your door is, I need to conquer OCD, I need to not have OCD, then your pathway is going to be, I need to have the thoughts and feelings I want at any moment, right? And then the thing that goes right with this is basically just the opposite of your path is the fences. This is crucial to understand. Your fence, and really there's going to be like a ton of them, right? There could be like 1,000. Your fence is going to be anything that your brain has memorized, right? With your subconscious patterns, that if this thing happens, my need will not be met. And especially that if this thing happens, my need won't be met in a way that is condemning, in a way that is lasting, in a way that I have no control over it being met. Right? Oh, if I have this intrusive thought, then I might not have control over my actions, which will make it so I actually hurt a family member, which goes against my door totally, which makes it so none of my needs are met, because if I do that, then none of these needs will be met. So holy cow, this is the thing that would stop all of my needs from being met. Boom. All right, so just for a second, actually pause the video or just think it through. Okay, what are some of the specific things with your path, and especially what are the fences? What are the things that your brain's memorized? Holy cow, if this thing happens, then my needs will not be met because my door will not happen. So then here is when you can actually understand why your brain would on purpose create all the fear, create all the shame, all the obsessing, the intrusive thoughts. This is when it gets so relieving. And you can become so free and empowered from everything your brain's doing now that you understand this. Is that the way your brain works, like write this down, star this is so important to understand. The way your brain works is it thinks the only way it can protect you from a danger, right? A danger meaning a fence, because a fence is dangerous because it's something that stops your needs from being met. So your brain thinks the only way it can protect you from that danger, that fence, is if it can make you think about it, be aware of it, focus on it, right? And if it can make you feel negative emotions towards that thing. Because the negative emotion ultimately is there to tell you, guess what? This thing's gonna make our need not met, so we have to do something about it. We have to escape it, right? Fear. Oh, we have to escape this thing. Shame. Oh my goodness, this thing can't have happened. That would just be so horrible. Oh, that can't have happened. Shame. Or whatever the negative emotion is, right? It's there to tell you this thing will make my need not met. So we have to think about this, and we have to feel this negative emotion so that somehow we will make sure we do something to protect ourselves from this happening. Because, like, think about it. Think about this for a second. Going back to the way our brains have been programmed. If there's a tiger, the only way you can escape that tiger is if you can notice it, be aware of it, think about it, right? If I'm just thinking about these berries over here that I'm picking, then the tiger's gonna eat me. So I have to think about it, I have to be aware of the threat, and I have to convince myself, your subconscious has to convince you that that tiger is dangerous so much that you can feel tons of fear, so that that fear can give you that adrenaline, can give you that, push to actually escape the tiger, to run away from it. So that is what is happening in your brain. That's why your brain's causing you to think and feel all those ways. To try to protect you from fences, to try to help you meet your needs. And then the thing to also understand with this is your brain really thinks it has to convince you that this fence is something dangerous. Because if it can't convince you, if you see that tiger and your brain goes, it's fine, then you're not going to run away and escape. So your brain thinks it has to convince you that that thing is actually going to stop you from having your needs met. It has to convince you that that thing is horrible and that you have to escape that. And that is when your brain creates what I call convincing topics. Your convincing topic is basically a topic of fences that your brain is going to always try to convince you of on purpose, because that's what your brain thinks is the only way it can make sure it protects you from any possible fence that could ever fit under that topic, because any fence that does fit in that topic will stop you from having your needs met. Right? So with me, my OCD, one of the biggest types of OCD I had was that my needs that I memorized not being met was being good enough to be loved. So these two. My door was, I have to be loved by people and never be judged by anyone. I have to be loved and accepted by everyone. Specifically, I have to be loved and wanted by women. Like that was a big door for me, right? That was like the big thing. So then my fence was any flaw, any insecurity, anything that could ever make me be judged or not lovable by other people, and especially by women, that's going to make it so my needs aren't met. So I have to escape all of that. I can never be judged. I can never have a flaw. Well, then guess what? My convincing topic became, I'm flawed. There's something wrong with me. I'm judged. I'm going to be judged. Right? Because my brain thought that, holy cow, the only way I can make sure that I notice every possible fence that could ever exist, or that I can notice any possible insecurity or flaw that I have that could ever exist, is if I'm always on the lookout for it. If I'm always trying to convince myself of it. Because if I'm always trying to convince myself that this could be a flaw, this is a flaw I have, this is wrong with me, this is wrong with me, I'm going to get judged for this, I'm going to get judged for this, then that way I won't accidentally miss any flaw that I might have that could ultimately make it so I'm never loved. Right? So your brain is actually on purpose trying to convince you of that terrifying, horrifying thing. And that is why when you're like, oh my goodness, like this OCD is just so convincing, right? That's why it's so hard. It's so convincing. It seems so real. Of course it does. Of course. Your brain thinks that it has to convince you of that in order to have your needs met. It thinks the only way you can ever be okay is if it can convince you and make sure that you believe that awful thing. And guess what? Your subconscious mind, it's your mind. It knows you perfectly. So it knows exactly what thoughts, it knows exactly what memories, it knows exactly what way to get you to perceive what's happening. It knows exactly what images to get you to think, all of it, exactly how to make you feel to actually get you to believe that convincing topic is trying to convince you of. So of course it's convincing. Of course it is. In fact, the more convincing the OCD is, the more convincing that thing is in your brain, the more distressed, and the more it's just like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. If it fits with that topic that you're experiencing all the time, the more convincing it is, the more you can know it is nothing. It is just your brain. It's just a program actually distorting reality, actually lying to you on purpose because it wants you to believe that there is a danger. It wants you to believe that everything is a danger because that's the only way it thinks it can make sure it protects you from everything that could be a danger. All right. So a couple examples to really help you internalize what is actually happening and really be able to see how this works. First off, if you were walking through a jungle, right? You're walking through a jungle and you knew that that jungle was filled with like thousands of tigers. And you know at any moment a tiger could jump out and try to eat you. Then when you're going through that jungle, are you just going to be like, oh, I'm just happy and just chilling? No, you're going to be like always looking like, holy cow. And any noise, oh, that's a tiger. And you can see like a branch move, and oh, it's a tiger. You can see a bird, and you're like, that's a tiger, right? Because everything is your brain trying to find the tigers so it can protect you, right? And then something even simpler to show you right now in this moment how this can work is right now, for like 5 to 10 seconds, wherever you are, I just want you to look around you, and I want you to look for the color red. So look for red. Look for red, find red, look for red, look for red, find red. Now close your eyes. Now I want you to think of everything you can remember that is the color brown. And there's probably not very many things, right? So now I want you to open your eyes again. I want you to look for brown, look for brown, look for brown, find brown, look for brown, look for brown. Now close your eyes. And I'm guessing there's a lot more brown you can think of this time compared to the first time. So go ahead, open your eyes. The point I want to make with this is that whatever your brain is trying to find, it's going to find. When your brain is looking for brown, you found a lot of brown, right? And where this gets even crazier is I'm guessing there were some things you found that were the color tan that you called brown. There were some things that were the color pink or maroon that you called red. Right? Your brain wanted to find that thing so much that it found it even when it wasn't there. And that is how the OCD works. It is going to find or convince you that it found that danger and convince you that it is a danger even when it's not even there. Right? It's actually distorting reality. It is lying to you on purpose because it thinks it has to trick you. It thinks it has to distort reality and convince you that that thing's actually a danger, that thing's actually that fence that's going to make it so your need will never be met, because it thinks that's the only way you'll feel enough fear and that you'll focus on it enough so you can make sure that you protect yourself from it. And that is why all OCD happens. So, when it comes to, let's break it down for all the different aspects of OCD. Intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts, right? If you think, holy cow, my fence is, if I hurt my child, then my needs would never be met. Okay. So if that is such a horrifying threat to you, that, oh my goodness, if that happened, my needs would never be met, then your brain thinks, okay, then I have to think about it. I have to think about it right now because that's the only way I can make sure I can protect myself from that thing. Then what's your brain going to do? It's going to make you think about hurting your child because it thinks that's the only way you can protect yourself. That's why that image is so powerful and why it takes over your mind. There's nothing it seems like you can do to get rid of it. It's because your brain thinks it has to be that consuming because that's the only way it can make sure you're protected. And then guess what? Then you memorize, holy cow, the intrusive thought itself is my fence. Because not only does harming my child make it so my need isn't met, but the intrusive thought makes it so that my needs aren't met. Because if I have this intrusive thought, it means I'm a horrible person, so not good enough. It means I'm going to lose control and actually take the action, right? So, the thought itself is the fence. Well, then what's your brain going to do? Holy cow, I can't think about this thought. That thought is a danger. So then I have to think about that danger. I have to think about this thought itself. I have to think it. And that's when you get stuck in that vicious cycle, because the thing that your brain is trying to protect you from is actually the very response it is using to try to protect you from that thing. That's why you get so stuck, right? So that's intrusive thoughts. What about compulsions? Compulsions are basically mini ladders that you memorize in here. Okay, the only way I can avoid this fence so I can still have my need met is if I wash my hands, right? The only way I can avoid this fence of being contaminated is if I wash my hands. So then your brain goes, you have to wash your hands. That's when you feel that urge. You feel that I have to wash my hands. That's the only way my need will be met, right? Same with ruminating. It's the same thing. It's basically a mental compulsion. So when you sit and think things through and you sit and try to prove something and try to reason something out in your mind and try to solve it and you're just like, I have to prove to myself that they're not actually judging me, or I have to prove to myself that I'm not a horrible person because of what I did or whatever it is. That's because your brain thinks, holy cow, if this fence is here, then my need will never be met. So I have to do something to prove to myself that this fence isn't here. I have to think and think and think it through until I can feel, right? Because here's something important to realize. Your brain bases all of this off of the thoughts and feelings that are getting triggered. So, if I'm feeling this fear towards being a horrible person, then that means I probably am a horrible person. Which means I need to sit and prove to myself that I'm not a horrible person until that feeling goes away, because so many of us base our beliefs of reality, our belief of, am I actually a good person based on how we're feeling? So, the only way I can know that I am a good person, the only way I can know this fence is gone and know that my needs can be met is if this feeling of distress will go away. Well, but then guess what? Your brain thinks it has to create that distress to convince you of a danger in order to protect you. So that's why you're just fighting back and forth all the time, because your brain's like, we have to convince you of this, and you're like, no, I have to actually prove this other thing, and then you're just fighting back and forth constantly. And because your feelings are automatically determined by your subconscious, then your subconscious is going to keep feeding those negative feelings, so you're not going to be able to feel at peace. You're not going to be able to feel whatever way. So no matter how much you reason, no matter how much whatever, it might have a temporary response, but long term it's not going to create the change, because all you're doing is reinforcing that same subconscious pattern of, this thing's a danger, I have to prove it's not a danger, and then I'm just reinforcing that this is a danger, which is going to keep creating the same pattern, which is going to keep creating the same emotions, which are going to tell me that my needs aren't met, and it's going to tell me this fence is here, which is going to tell me that I have to prove more and more, and you're just going to stay stuck. Right? So, intrusive thoughts, ruminating, compulsions, anxiety. What is anxiety? Why does anxiety happen? Your brain goes, holy cow, there's this danger. I have to feel fear to protect myself from this fence, right? I can't get to this fence, so then anxiety happens right here, boom. I have to feel anxiety to stop me from doing this thing. right? If you've memorized that, holy cow, if I touch this thing, it's going to make me die. Then your brain goes, you have to feel so much fear before you touch it that there is no chance at all that you will ever touch that thing. Because that's the only way we can meet our needs. Boom, it's going to create all that anxiety. Is this making sense to you? Is this catching on? Do you see why your brain would actually then, on purpose, create all of the OCD and keep creating it over and over again, and how you can get so stuck, right? Because like with the anxiety, oh my goodness, if I get judged, my needs won't be met. So I have to feel anxious towards that thing. So I protect myself from being judged. Okay, well now that I'm feeling anxious, that tells my brain, oh, well I must be being judged because I'm feeling anxious and I'm feeling insecure. So then because I'm feeling that, that means this thing must be true. So it's just reinforcing that belief, it's reinforcing that blueprint of, oh, I must be being judged in this way. Which just reinforces there's a danger, which is going to make it so you feel even more anxiety. And then maybe you go, holy cow, I have anxiety. If I feel anxiety, then that's going to make me not good enough. That's going to make it so my needs aren't met. So then now you have anxiety about the anxiety itself, and it's just all these vicious cycles. Like that's why mental illness happens, is these patterns. That's why. That's why. And that's why you believe these things that aren't true, but when other people tell you it's not true, people tell you, remember your OCD is just a lie, you're like, okay, but no, you're like, it has to be true because I believe it so much and I feel it so much and I think it so much and it seems so true to me. Yeah, because your brain thinks that it has to convince you and it's really good at doing that. And because you're just reinforcing these beliefs, these blueprints, telling you these horrible things. So of course, you're not going to be able to believe or be able to feel or be able to think the ways you want so that you can prove to yourself that that thing is a lie. No. But that doesn't make it any less of a lie. It is still absolutely a lie. It is still just your thoughts and feelings based on this. And it's the same thing with the other mental illnesses too, of like depression, right? Depression is basically when you go, oh, I'm here, my needs will never be met, and I've tried this so much, and it's been so painful, it's been so horrible that it's just impossible. It's just impossible for me to have my needs met. So then it's actually better for me to just have the convincing topic of it's impossible, I'm worthless, it's hopeless, it's helpless, there's nothing I can do, I might as well not even get out of bed. Right? Your brain's gonna think it should convince you of that, because that way you won't even try to do these things, because when you do try to have your needs met, then all these fences happen and it's so scary and it's so painful and it just reinforces that your need will never be met, which is awful. So it's actually easier to just accept and to just convince yourself that your needs will never be met and life is just horrible and hopeless. And that's why the depression is so convincing. It's telling you there's no point, it's impossible, I'm worthless, I'm horrible, right? Basically telling you that all these needs can never be met. Oh, I'm just worthless. That's how it is. Oh, I'm just never going to be loved. Right? Everyone hates me. Oh, I'm just stuck forever. Oh, I'm just, that's why it happens. That's it. Same thing with PTSD. PTSD, you memorize, okay, there's a specific thing that happened or this trauma I went through that made it so my needs aren't met. So now I have to keep reliving that and keep thinking about it again and keep feeling fear towards anything that's at all similar to that thing that caused all that trauma, because that's the only way I can make sure I protect myself from that same type of trauma happening again, which will make it so my need won't be met, right? Or with eating disorders, it's the same as the OCD. If there's this thing that I'm obsessed with happening in order to have my needs met, right? I have to have the perfect body in order to be loved, in order to be good enough. Guess what? Having any fat on my body is a fence. It makes it so I won't have my need met. So then your brain is going to always be convincing you that you're fat. It's going to be distorting reality. It's actually going to be changing the way you see yourself to make you see a lie, to make you believe a lie, right? And in your mind, it's like, no, I absolutely am fat. I just have to be skinny because that's the only way I can be loved. And it's like, no, it's your brain convincing you of that. And with an addiction a lot of times is like, there's this little shiny object over here, up here. Then your brain's like, holy cow, well, if I can just, addictions usually are something that somehow mimics being in the house. It mimics your need being met, right? Pornography is so powerful. It mimics that you have love and connection without actually having love and connection. So it makes you kind of feel or perceive that you're in the house even when you're not. And then your brain goes, well, it's impossible to have my need met this way, but I can keep escaping to this to make it feel like my needs met and to just distract me and numb me from all of this. So, boom, and you keep getting more and more dependent on this thing and just, I have to be here because this is so horrible and painful. And instead, this is how I can actually feel like my needs are being met. There you go. Like, that's mental illness. It's patterns you memorize in your subconscious. That's it. And yes, those patterns over time, the more you think and feel and believe and memorize a fact that you perceive as a fact, it's going to create chemical changes. That's why it's going to affect hormones, or it's going to affect that, oh, I have a chemical imbalance. Like, yes, that is aligned with your thoughts and feelings. If for the last 30 years you've believed these horrible things and reinforced that over and over in your mind, then guess what? The chemicals you release go according to your beliefs and your thoughts and your feelings. So if for the last 30 years you've been only releasing all this cortisol and all this awful stuff instead of the chemicals you want, then yeah, that's going to cause chemical imbalances over time, right? And that's why genetics, if genetically I naturally have less of a chemical or whatever, like it can impact this, but ultimately this is why it's happening. It's all happening on purpose for a reason to try to help you meet your needs. That's it. So in this way, anything that is OCD, anything that is anxiety, anything that follows this convincing topic, or maybe you have multiple, maybe you have 5, 10, whatever, anything that fits under that, you can know is not true. You can know is not real. You can know is just your imagination. It is just a story that your brain is trying to convince you. That's it. It is just thoughts. It is just feelings. It has nothing to do with reality. It has nothing to do with what is true. It has nothing to do with, like, here's the thing to understand. Your thoughts and feelings that get triggered have nothing to do with the actions you're going to take. They don't determine what's going to happen in your reality. They don't determine what you actually believe or want. They don't determine any of that. The only thing they determine is that you have a pattern trying to protect you from that thing. That's all it indicates. So when you have that intrusive thought of hurting someone, that doesn't mean you're going to actually hurt them. It means you have a pattern memorized in your brain that's trying to protect you from hurting people. That's all it means. Literally. Like, take that in for a second. How relieving is that? How amazing is that? How absolutely mind-blowing and incredible is it to understand this? To know that that thing you were so terrified of and you were just so like, if only I could get rid of this, if only this thing weren't true. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's just a pattern. Like all the suffering that you've had for the last years or however long, it's just a program playing, convincing you of lies, convincing you to suffer. It's not true. It's not founded in reality. It's just a program. It's just a subconscious pattern on purpose. That's it. That's it. And you can change it. You can. It's temporary. So take that in for a second. Like, how amazing is that? How much are you just so free and so relieved and so just like, oh my goodness, I could cry right now because I feel so relieved that this thing I was so terrified of is absolutely and totally a lie. It's just something my brain's trying to convince me of to protect me. It's just a pattern. It's just nothing. So 2 more analogies to really help you take this in and see how this works. Is right now, I want you to imagine, it's going to sound silly, but imagine there's an elephant in the room with you. Just stomping around. Just imagine that for a second. Okay. Now I'm guessing when you imagine that elephant, you didn't yell, you didn't scream, you weren't like, what the heck? Like, what is this doing here? And like, get your phone out and take pictures or like run out of the room. Like, I'm guessing you didn't do any of that. If anything, because I've done this with a lot of people, like in person, you probably kind of laughed or kind of giggled or kind of smiled like, what? Or like, this is weird, right? Why? Why didn't you do any of those things? Yell, scream, feel terrified or shocked? Because you knew it was just your imagination. You knew it was just a thought. So you're like, oh, whatever. Guess what? Once you understand what is happening with the OCD, then you can understand that any thought, any intrusive thought, any ruminating, any thought with OCD is just an imaginary elephant. That's all it is. It has no more reality, no more truth, no more, ability to determine your reality than that elephant did. Right? Oh, well, if I think about this elephant enough, it's going to actually be in my room. No, you didn't think that because that's not true. Like all the OCD thoughts are literally nothing. It's just thoughts. It's just imaginary elephants. That's it. And you might say, okay, well, the hardest part is the feeling. It feels so real. Yeah, because It thinks it has to convince you. And the way I like to look at this is, okay, right now, if you wanted to, could you feel yourself wearing your shirt? Could you feel that if you wanted to? Yeah, you could. But do we? No, because it's not important to us. Because even though that physical sensation is there, like our sensory receptors are actually feeling this all the time, our brain's like, that doesn't matter, so it doesn't feel it, because it's nothing to us. Once you understand OCD, you can actually know that all of the feelings, all the physical sensations, the anxiety, the shame, all of it, all the physical aspect of it, it's just super uncomfortable shirts. That's it. It has no more significance, no more meaning or impact over our lives. It's literally just a feeling that is there based on a pattern, because your brain is creating that feeling on purpose to try to scare you and protect you based on this program you've memorized. So it's literally just a feeling. It's just chemicals flowing through you. It's just energy and motion, right? That's all it is. That's it. So no matter how powerful and consuming that terror is inside of you, it's just a feeling. It's just it's nothing. It does not indicate reality. It does not indicate that it's going to be like that forever. No, it's just a temporary sensation, physical sensation. That's it. So how amazing is this to know that all of the suffering, all of the fears and the terrible things that you've wanted more than anything to be able to escape, all it is, your worst nightmare and enemy, is just imaginary elephants and uncomfortable shirts. That's it. That's it. And not to take away from the suffering you've been through. I know to you it's been real. To you, you've experienced it as real. So it's been horrible suffering. But now you can actually take in, it's not horrible suffering. It's just imaginary elephants and it's just uncomfortable shirts. It's just thoughts and sensations that have nothing to do with reality. They're just indicating a program that you've memorized in your subconscious. That's it. Trying to protect you and meet your needs. That's it. How amazing is this to understand? Like, how much does this change everything? How much does this change the way you look at everything you experience, the way you look at all of the OCD, the way you look at all of the anxiety? Like, how much of a game changer is this? Take this in, make this true, make this real to you, because it is. And if your subconscious right now is telling you, oh, this can't be true, no, that it can't be that simple, no, but what about this, what about this, what about... Because guess what? It doesn't want you to believe this, because it wants you to believe the convincing topic. So it probably is going to tell you that what I'm telling you is not true. Guess what? No matter what it tells you, it's still a lie. Guess what? No matter how convincing it is at telling you, oh, this can't be real, this is all just... Yeah, it's because it wants to convince you of that, but it's just following your program of trying to convince you that this isn't true, because instead it wants to convince you that that danger is true, because it thinks that's the only way it can protect you. That's it. So right now, I want you to actually pause the video and write down what the need is, or needs, what the door is, or the doors, and what your convincing topic is, and defenses, right? Actually write that down, and then from now on, anything your brain tells you that has anything to do with the convincing topic, you can know it's just your brain making stuff up. You can know it's just your brain adding to things. It's just your brain telling you a story that's not true. And you might be saying, okay, but like, sometimes it could be true, right? Like, for example, one of my themes was that I'm awkward socially and people are judging me. It's like, well, sometimes people do judge you. So wait, sometimes it is true, so I do need to fear. Okay, here's the thing to realize. With me, yes, one of my biggest convincing topics was, there's something wrong with me, people are judging me because of it. Okay, sometimes people do judge me. So that simplest part is true, but everything your brain is telling you about them judging you is a lie. Everything your brain is telling you about that moment is a lie. So even if there's the simplest truth in it, right? Oh, what if there are germs on this? Yeah, there are germs. But everything your brain's telling you about the germs is a lie. Right? It's adding all this story and all these lies and all this convincing evidence to try to prove to you how horrible this thing is. That's all a lie. So, the way I look at this is, okay, you might say, oh, well, then I have to actually reason with it then and find the part that's true so I can make sure that... Okay, here's the thing. Here's the way to look at this. If someone gave you a drink, and the drink had your favorite drink in it, right? Oh, I love grape juice, and it has grape juice in it. Awesome. But then they filled it with like 20 different types of poisons. And they hand you this drink, like, here, drink this. Would you be like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna kind of try to drink a little bit of it, because like there is some grape juice in it, so I'm gonna drink some of it and just kind of like try to figure it out from there. Or I'm gonna pour it into different cups and try to get the grape juice out of it so I can just have that, you know. Is that gonna work? No, not at all. It's the same thing with this. Like, here's the thing. Anything that has anything to do with your convincing topic, thing that your brain keeps convincing you of that horrible thing, it's all a lie. Even if there's the tiniest bit of truth in it, because your brain is so distorting reality so much, then it makes it so all of it becomes a lie. It makes it so all of it is just something that's not even worth your time. It's not even worth you reasoning with it. It's not even worth you interacting with it. It's not even worth any of that, because it's all just nothing. It's all just a program. So treat all of it that way. Like, don't fight and argue with the specific thoughts. Instead, just treat all of it as it's all just a convincing topic. It's all just nothing. It's all not worth my time. I don't even care what it's telling me. It's all bleh. It can go away. I can drop kick it out of my life. It's nothing to me. And then from there, you can decide, okay, what things do I want to believe? How do I want to live my life? And do all sorts of steps that I could break down into tons of depth of how to do it in the best way, most empowering way, but we don't have time in this video. That's the thing to realize. All the OCD, all the anxiety, all of it is just lies. It's just lies. And one story to help you really take this in is, I remember for me, before I even knew what OCD was, it's when I was really struggling with religious OCD. So there's a religious leader I kept going to, being like, okay, what about this sin? What about this thing I did? What about this? Kept going to him over and over and over again with all these things I was so scared about. I remember at one point, he just kind of paused the conversation and just said, David, the thing he said next would change my life forever. I'll never forget. He said, David, when are you going to stop listening to the lies from Satan? Right, because it was a religious leader. And it just hit me straight to the heart, because he didn't say, when are you going to convince yourself that this thing is a lie? No, when are you going to stop listening to the lies? Everything I told him was a lie. Everything I'd gone to him so concerned about, so scared of, was a lie. All of it. So the question I'll challenge you is, when are you going to stop listening to the lies of your OCD? And not, oh, I can't think this, I can't feel this, but no, it's a lie, it's nothing, so I don't even care if the thought's there, right? When are you going to stop listening to the lies? So the last thing that I will leave you with, because I want to be able to change your life as much as I possibly can in this video, because I understand that most people that watch this, unfortunately, will not be able to work with me personally. I probably won't even meet most people that watch this video, so I want this to change your life as much as I possibly can. So, you might be saying, okay, now that I understand what's actually going on with the OCD, what's happening, what do I do about it? Right? So, obviously I have probably 15 hours worth of videos teaching all of this stuff in depth, every step of the way, everything you can need to conquer this. So it's hard to break it down into the next 10 minutes, because I don't want to make this video too long. But just the most simplified way to look at this, just so you can have some direction, just so you can actually start to okay, here's what I can do, is the way to look at this is, okay, in every moment you have your subconscious patterns that you've memorized, but you also have your conscious mind, or in my beliefs, you have a soul as well, right? You are so much more than just the thoughts from your subconscious, just the feelings. So you have your subconscious and you have your conscious, right? Whichever one is more powerful in the moment is what you are going to experience. So that is why the OCD is so hard, because your subconscious programs are always so powerful, because your brain thinks you have to be thinking this, so it's so powerful. So then the goal is, we want to take power away from the subconscious and give power to the conscious mind of what you actually want to think and feel, and the patterns you want to program in your brain. Because it's not just a matter of accepting these awful patterns and being okay with them. No, you can actually design your brain to think and feel differently, and to think and feel how you want it to in any moment. You can actually gain the power. It's just from the bottom of my soul telling you this, because I want you to have the same freedom I have developed. You have the power inside of you to create the emotion, the belief, the experience that you want at any moment, no matter what is happening with the OCD. You have that power. And you have the power to learn how to rewire your subconscious to make it so that those changes, those new patterns, those new thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs that you want, so that those become automatic to you. And you can actually teach your brain that those new things that you want are actually going to meet your needs better than these old blueprints. That is what you can do. And it all, like the most simplified way again, is it all comes down to taking power away from the subconscious and giving more power to your conscious mind. So, one thing I like to have people think about is, in the moment, if you are experiencing OCD at the strongest, worst, darkest moment ever of OCD, if in that moment an actual tiger started chasing you, I think it's pretty safe to say you'd forget all about that OCD and your whole experience would be on that tiger, right? So in that moment, you would be healed, you would be free, the OCD would be gone because you are experiencing that tiger instead so fully. So, what if you could create the patterns you do want, the beliefs you do want, the thoughts you do want, all of the stuff that you do want? What if you could actually create that to be your tiger? That you're just so immersed and it's so powerful in your mind and it's so just like, boom, this is my reality, this is my experience so much that the OCD just automatically goes away. And then what if you could also teach your brain to take power away from the OCD, which hopefully has already happened a ton in this video, just because now you understand that it truly has no power. Like, it's never had power. It's only had the power that you've given it through letting your brain try to convince you of these lies. So if you take the power away and then you teach your brain how to experience what you do want, the more times you do that, you're creating new experiences, right? Because you're making your conscious more powerful than the subconscious. The more times you do that, the more you can actually train your subconscious to memorize those new patterns, to make them the most dominant, most automatic thing in your brain. Because without going into too much information, which I could break this down way more, neurons that fire together wire together. Neurons that fire out of sync lose their link. So if you repeatedly teach your brain to think a certain way, to feel a certain way, to view life with a new lens of reality, with new beliefs, the more times you do that, the more you're connecting those circuits in your brain, the more times you're connecting those neurons, the more it's going to get memorized and programmed into your brain as automatic. So the last story I'm going to share with you, just to show you that this is possible, just to show you that this can happen, is from my life. After a few weeks, maybe a month of applying, of learning what I just taught you, and then also learning and applying all in the other strategies that I used, I remember for me, again, one of my biggest, convincing topics of the OCD was that there's something wrong with me, I'm never going to be loved by women, I'm being judged, all that. So I remember I was walking on campus. This is when I was a freshman at university. And I remember exactly where I was walking. And I got a text on my phone getting rejected by a girl that I was interested in. And I remember, in the past, that would have triggered all the thoughts, all the feelings. What did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? Oh, it's because of this flaw. Oh, it's this. I'm never going to be loved. But I remember in that moment, my brain almost started to go there. And instead, boom, whoosh, I was just filled with this confidence, filled with this being in love with life, filled with believing my dreams are coming true, filled with believing I'm amazing and I'm lovable and I can be loved and all this amazing stuff. And it was just holy cow, this is insane, because I didn't even have to consciously try to do anything. I just reprogrammed my brain that, anything that happens with women actually means I'm confident, I'm lovable, I'm free, my needs are met. All these beliefs, these patterns, these thoughts, these feelings I do want, I programmed my brain so much that became my new most dominant pattern and program. So my brain automatically went there. And in that moment, I knew that you can conquer OCD for good, you can heal for good, you can create the freedom lastingly that you want for good. Because you can reprogram your subconscious and nothing can stop you if you learn the right strategies, if you learn how to do it the right way, if you truly learn how to take power away from the OCD and how to give power to the beliefs that you do want without ruminating, without proving it, without forcing it, without needing to feel a certain way, but actually instead through the power that you have of creating the beliefs you want, creating the programs you want, and all of those things, which unfortunately I do not have enough time in this video to explain to you. So the big takeaways from this video is know that you can heal. You can conquer all of the OCD, no matter what, no matter how much you've struggled, no matter how impossible it's felt, no matter what you've tried that hasn't worked, no matter how much ERP and traditional treatments have failed you. Of course they failed you. They don't know this stuff. Of course they failed you. They don't know how to teach you how to unlock the power of your brain to create any pattern you want. Of course they failed you. You're not broken. Those strategies were broken. They are broken. You're stuck not because of anything about you, but because you've not learned the right information. So it is possible. Right? It's like if you were trying to get from the United States to Europe and you had a little kayak, then yeah, you're going to keep trying and failing. It's going to be painful and miserable and it's going to be awful and you're probably never going to make it to Europe. So you might say, oh, it's just impossible. Yeah, you can't make it from the United States to Europe. You just can't. No, it can never happen. And oh, anyone that tells me it can, they're just full of it. No, you can get plane tickets. That's what I discovered is the plane tickets. The plane tickets that you can use to conquer all of the OCD. The plane tickets that you can use of what actually works in a way that any obstacle, anything that tries to stop you, I've had clients also struggle with that, and I have probably also struggled with that, and I've found ways to actually conquer it in a way that you become unstoppable. And that is why I've got such amazing results for my clients. That is why I've gotten such amazing results in my life. That is why I've taken people that have struggled with OCD for decades and in weeks gotten them better results than anything else they've tried. That is why I've had clients that have struggled for years and years and literally got all the results they wanted before the 2 months of the program are done. And in 5 weeks, they're like, I'm free, I don't need any more coaching. And I'm like, awesome. It's because this stuff works. What I call neuro-choosing, the strategies that I use, and I teach people of how to change their brain, how to change their life, how to conquer OCD for good, neuro-choosing, that's why it's so powerful and it's so effective. And literally, once you learn how to do it, there's nothing that can stop you. It doesn't matter how the OCD gets triggered. It doesn't matter what happens, none of that. When you learn the right strategies and when you decide you are going to figure out a way to get it to work, then it will, because it's just how the brain works. And I'm so blessed in my life to have discovered this. Infinitely blessed. I would not trade this knowledge, this power that I have developed for anything. Like literally, someone could offer me $1 billion, and say, okay, you have to give up this information, you have to give up this power that you have in your life, in your mind, to create your experience, your subconscious, and you'll never get it back. And I'd say, no, I'm not even going to think about it. Because this is everything. And it's not just how you can beat OCD, it's how you can actually create the mind and the life you dream of. That is why I'm so passionate about this. I hope you can tell. That is why I want to change your life. That's why I created this video for free to help you all I could. And that's also why I have my full program to absolutely change your life and to guarantee that you will gain power over the OCD to be able to change your experience at any moment, and that guarantees you'll have everything you need to be able to reprogram your subconscious and create lasting healing and change. And if I don't deliver on those two things, you literally get extra coaching for free until it does happen, or you get your money back. Because this stuff just works, and that is what I'm convinced, and that is what I'm set on, that I'm going to bring this change, this transformation. I'm going to bring this to as many lives, to as many people as I possibly can, and I will stop at nothing until I get there. I will stop at nothing. As long as there is still someone stuck, as long as there is still someone suffering, I will not stop until I've shared this message, until I've shared these strategies that are the most powerful strategies I know of, and that have absolutely changed my life and so many others. I will not stop until these are all over the world. So I don't want to be that guy, but if you do want more information on this to see if it can change your life, you can book a 15-minute discovery call. You can't buy my program on that call. Like, you literally can't. I don't let people. It's literally just going to be to see what next steps are best for you, to see if this can work for you, to see what you think about this, and for me to answer any questions you have from this video, because it was a lot of information, right? So if you want to schedule that call, go ahead. There's a link probably below somewhere. Yeah. And if not, even if you've never talked to me in your life, and even if you say this guy's the worst person ever, at least please take in the information in this video and please use it to change your life. And please know and keep the hope that you can overcome the OCD. Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. You can. It's possible. Absolutely. So keep on that hope, keep on to that belief, and let's do this. Let's change our lives, and hopefully I get to talk with you, and if so, I look forward to that. But Let's do this. Take this in, change your life, and use today as the start of a new life, a start of a life where OCD no longer has power over you.